Hey everybody, welcome to Video Game Corner. It's me, Jason, and as you can see by the title, I had a heart attack. But before I go into that, I just want to let you guys know the sale is supposed to end tomorrow, but because I was in the hospital last week, I want to extend the sale out another week for everybody. So let's go ahead and go another week, and I'll put the deadline in the description for you. So that being said, let's go on to the other point of business here. Last Wednesday on the September 25th, I walked down to the corner store to get some diet soda and an energy drink or two, whatever it was. And as I was walking home, I was carrying. I had two bags, and I was alternating arms, because it's about a quarter mile to there, Not a real hard walk at all by any means. It's more of a stroll, and so on the way, just about half a block on the way home, I started feeling this pain in my upper back, and I was thinking it was a cramped muscle, right? Because I just started exercising again because with my because as a lot of you know, I have severe Crohn's disease and I'm on disability, and I have these medical problems that I'm way too young to be having because I just turned 37 on the 19th of September, and I'm way too young for this stuff. Nobody should have to go through what I'm going through at this age. This is like old person problems, but I'm pretty tough, so I keep pushing through because that's how I am. And so I'm walking home, and my upper back's cramping. I'm thinking it's a cramp, and it's kind of annoying. So I get home, and I set everything down. I'm just like, God, this hurts. So I put everything in the fridge, sat down, opened up one of my drinks, drank a little bit of it, and I'm sitting there, and I'm hurting, and I'm like goofing around with my Vita. And I'm trying to stretch it out, and then I sit up straight, and I do one of these, and I kind of turn, and it stops. And I'm like, oh, good, I finally got it to... I felt like a deep cramp in there. And it stopped. And so I was like, okay, I think I got it. It's got to kind of relax a bit until it stops, so it doesn't, flare up again. Well, a few seconds left, like a minute later, it started up again even worse. And it was just getting worse and worse. And I started feeling the pain in my sternum. And then I felt this sharp pain down my left arm. And it's really weird because in a heart attack, from what I understand, you have the pain up here in the top left side. And then your left arm goes numb. And I wasn't showing those signs. I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I'm thinking heart attack, but I don't know. I told my girlfriend, Desiree, I said, call an ambulance. So she calls, and I go out front, and I was talking to them, telling them what happened, and they said, I don't think it's a heart attack. It doesn't sound like it. They said, And he even told me later, after they realized it was, that he thought I had like a back problem, that I looked like a guy whose back was hurting. And that's what it was. So the hospital is like a block and a half away from my house. So they drive me over there, and we're kind of talking. First they have me in the ambulance, and they're kind of talking, setting up the EKG on me, just making sure. And then they take me over to the hospital, and of course I'm saying I think it might be a heart attack because I'm scared. And so they take me to the hospital. They go to the hospital parking lot, and I guess my EKG did something. And the ambulance, not the driver, but the ambulance guy in the back with me, his name's Stefan, and I'm going to go talk to him in person here pretty quick, in the near future, and thank him for doing what he did. He he told the driver, he said, wait a second. And he said, I need to check something. So he checked my EKG a little bit closer and realized, and he says to me, you know what, Jason, you are right. I think it is. You are having a heart attack. And I'm like, just great. So this hospital in Porterville, Sierra View, which is one of the worst hospitals in the area, and I've been there a few times where I had my colostomy done and my abscess removed, and they're known, they were horrible. The hospital was horrible. The doctors seem to be pretty good, but the hospital itself, the care is horrible. The nurses, I asked for a 7-Up when I was there, and it took them 2 hours to get it to me. That's how bad it is. I couldn't get up either. I had like a wound vac and an IV. I was hooked up to all these different things where I could I could just stand up next to the bed, and that's as far as I could go. So I was stuck. And so he radios into the hospital, to the doctor, and says, I want to take him to Kaweah Delta. And the doctor says, yeah, take him. Because they don't have, at Sierra View, they don't have a cath lab which can do it. They ended up doing a stent on me. They don't have the equipment to do this. And I'm thinking, this is the only hospital for 30 miles around. Kaweah Delta's 30 miles away in Visalia. And he says, I got to take you to Kaweah Delta. I said, isn't that in Visalia? That's like 30 miles away. And he says, yeah, it is. He says, but it'll save your life. And then he goes to explain that. He says, they don't have the equipment here, and you can refuse, but I don't recommend it. I think we need to go. And I said, okay. And he says, don't worry, I'm going to give you medication to make sure, to keep this under control, to help you out. And I said, okay. And I'm a little nervous here, but I come to find out later that, yeah, they don't have the equipment, and that if I would have stayed, they would have ended up keeping me in the hospital until they would have transferred me eventually. And there's situations where people sit there all night with their damaged heart. They get the heart attack under control and stop it, but the damage isn't fixed. So you got to sit there all night just taking medicine and trying to keep it under control before they can transfer you and fix it. Being that he was smart enough and quick enough to think on his feet, he actually got me to the hospital, and who knows if he saved my life or not, but I'm going to say, yeah, he did. He didn't. He sure as hell didn't hurt my life. That's the important thing. And so went out there. He was giving me nitroglycerin on my tongue, aspirin, morphine. And when he gave me the morphine, it helped with the pain. And I noticed that the chest pain was going away and the arm pain. I just had a little bit of back pain left. And it was like bearable. And I started feeling better that maybe, it's getting under control, because he'd pretty much stopped the heart attack. But I still had the problem of, what was wrong with me, what caused it in the first place. So we got to the hospital, and, they went ahead and got me into the cath lab. And the doctor, they kind of drugged me up. And so I'd calm down. And then they go up through the groin and up into the heart, and they found there was a collapsed artery. So they went in there and they put a stent in and opened it up, and then everything was like normal again. So they put me in there, and then they had to clot the area down in the groin where they go in. So I couldn't move my right leg for hours, for like 5 or 6 hours. Then they come in and they went ahead and they had to put pressure on, take everything off, so it would be just like an open wound. And the nurse had to sit there and hold with her hand pressure for like 20 or 30 minutes. But I was clotting really well. And then they put a sandbag on my groin, on my crotch, to relieve pressure. And they had to leave it there for 4 hours. Sometimes it's 6 if you don't clot well, but it was 4 for me. So I basically laid there unable to move for, it was like 9 hours. My lower back was killing me because I'm laying on this crappy bed. My lower back I haven't been able to move. I was able to move my left leg and my arms and stuff a little bit, but that's it. And they made you so you couldn't sit up too much. You had to stay really laid back, and it was very uncomfortable. But I made it, and then after that I was able to move around, stretch. The next day in the hospital, I was feeling I woke up the next morning feeling like $1 million. And I guess what happened is, excuse me, I gotta get a drink. What happened was the blood flow wasn't flowing for so long that I was always tired and exhausted. I've been like this for like 10 years. I haven't had any energy. I woke up the next morning feeling like I could go walk down the street and go for a jog. That's how good I felt. And then that night, after they moved me up to a regular room, I was walking laps around the thing, around the nurse's station, because I felt really good. And I realized I got to get my weight back down. Now here's a little history on my weight. For most of my life I was really big, and I ended up getting to, in 2009 I got to my biggest at 374. Now, at 374 I was miserable and I hated it. And I ended up dropping like 40 pounds and then gaining like 16 back. And then I went in for, when I first started realizing I had problems with my colon. And they thought I had ulcerative colitis, but it turned out later to be Crohn's, and I had an abscess blocking everything. And the abscess was that big around and that long that they pulled out of me. That was blocking everything. And they actually pumped 5 gallons of backed up stuff out of me into a bucket in the operating room. So it was really bad. I had what's called toxic megacolon, and my colon was probably stretched out like that, and it's only supposed to be like that. And excuse me. So they went ahead and they now when they first did, I was in the hospital like 3 times before they actually pulled it, or 2 or 3 times before they pulled the abscess out, before they caught it. And I went in the first time and I realized, you know, I was in the hospital at 2:55, I think. Excuse me, I keep having the hiccups. And I got in the hospital, I went down to 3:49. Then after that, I started dropping weight. In the first 2 months, I lost 50 pounds. And then over like the course of like a year, and I went in the hospital again and again, like another time I think it was twice. Then the third time they pulled the abscess out, they caught it. And over basically a year, I lost 100 pounds. And I was down to 255 when I got into the hospital when they found the abscess, and they didn't let me eat for a couple days, and then I was at 250 the day that the operation. And then when I came out of the hospital 3 weeks later, I was 216 pounds. I lost another, I think it's 39, or 39 total, while I was in the hospital for just under 3 weeks. And I was sickly, my face was all sunken in, and my body was hanging. It was terrible. I could see my ribs all hanging out. At 216 pounds, it's funny because by the standards of the government's BMI, I was still obese. Which is like, I look like I'm going to fall over. You could blow on me and I'd fall over dead. I could barely walk. I was a mess. But I started eating again. And before that, I was eating this paleo diet. That's how I lost all the weight. I was eating a lot of meat. And I have an allergy. It's called oral allergy syndrome. I can't eat fruits and vegetables because my body thinks it's bee pollen. I can eat potatoes and corn as long as they're cooked, but I can't mess with them raw. I can't touch like raw vegetables or fruits because my hands get like flare up and get red. I can't eat like raw juice or anything. Like you go to a juice place and they juice it, I can't do that. It closes up my throat and really aggravates it bad. And I have problems breathing. I can drink like the processed juice you get at the store that's mostly water, but I can't drink a lot of it. But anyway, I have to pretty much eat meat and grains and stuff. Now, I started watching this documentary called Fathead, and I'm going to put a documentary in this guy, Tom Naughton. He basically was trying to make a documentary about, making light of the way fat people are made fun of. It's the one group, basically, we could still make fun of, and nobody cares. Every other group, it's like politically incorrect. But so after that, I watched this documentary when I was losing weight. I said, wow, that's really interesting. And he was talking about, he started digging in all this research about cholesterol and heart problems and things. And he started talking about the fact that the way we used to eat, you know, in the caveman days is really the way we should be eating. And basically it was a lot of meat, very little fruit, and and hardly any vegetables, just a few select vegetables. And we don't eat a lot of vegetables and fruit. We eat like 90% meat and high fat, a lot of fat. And as you guys know, you're sitting here listening to this, you're like, that's not what we've been told. That's not true. And it's funny, listen to me for a sec, please. I went ahead and tested this, and my cholesterol is at 302, which is terrible. If anybody you know, and if you don't know, cholesterol is supposed to be about 200, and then your HDL, LDL, and your triglycerides are supposed to have certain numbers. Mine was at 302. My LDL, which is your bad cholesterol, was skyrocketing. My HDL was too low. My triglycerides, I don't think they were too bad, but everything else was bad. 302 that's dangerous. And my doctor at the time says, you're going to have to take medication to bring this down. Your diet won't do it. And I said, wow. So for a while I took the medication, and then I decided I didn't want to take it anymore when I saw this guy's documentary. I stopped taking it, and I did the test, the 30-day test, where you do nothing but eat high fat, high protein, basically sausage, bacon, lard, no processed oils like vegetable oil, corn oil, canola. These are processed oils that you should not be putting in your body. Margarine you shouldn't put in your body. It's one molecule away from plastic. All this stuff you should not be eating because we never ate it. And if we never ate it in ancient times, why should we be eating it now? That's what people need to ask themselves. So I did this for a month. And I ate nothing but bacon and eggs every morning and just meats and burger patties, greasy, just the stuff that we all love to eat. Unless you hate that stuff. But, you're in the minority for sure. But my cholesterol dropped to 201. My LDL dropped, my HDL rose. And it's like amazing. And it's all explained in his documentary because he went and talked to doctors about it that are studying this. And I was like, that's amazing. Because, we've been taught that we're not supposed to eat this stuff. We're supposed to eat grains and all these things. But you know what? Grains are the stuff that they give to cows and pigs to make them fat. Why are we eating this stuff? Birds are supposed to eat grains, not humans. We can eat it, but it's not really what we're supposed to be eating. Mother Nature knows what she's doing, and he points that out, that Mother Nature isn't stupid. And all I say is watch it, and you may watch it and think it's all bull, and that's fine, but the only thing I can say is that I tested it myself, and my cholesterol dropped. Now, after my surgery, when I was down, I started eating, and I stopped doing that diet. I stopped it. I started eating all the processed crap again, and eating all this stuff, and I gained all over 100 pounds back. I was at 349 when I had my heart attack again. 349. Nobody should weigh that much. Unless you're, 10 feet tall or whatever, at 8 feet tall. But I'm 5'11 and a half. I should not weigh that much. I should be closer to 250 or lower. And when I was at 250, it felt like a good weight for me. And the thing is I haven't tested my numbers. I haven't been taking care of myself for the last year and a half, since the end of 2011 when all this happened, almost 2 years ago. I haven't been taking care of myself. I've been an idiot. And I'm going to start taking care of myself again, because when I did that and I ate like that, my body was it felt so healthy and so in tune, and all my numbers, every time I would get tested, everything would be perfect. But I stopped. So then I have a heart attack. And who knows how long this has been happening. I think this happened because for years I ate like that too, like I did the last year and a half. I only ate I only changed the way I eat over the last, during the year period, and I felt great. And everything all my numbers lined up. Before that, my numbers were off. My blood pressure was high. Everything was screwed up. And cholesterol's high, blood pressure, my weight, everything was just bad. And so now I'm focusing more on getting back to that diet, and they've got me on a bunch of medications, but the one thing I'm not touching right now is the cholesterol medicine. I'm actually going to see a doctor here in a few days, and I'm going to talk to him about they didn't even test my cholesterol in the hospital. And I'm like, well, how do you guys even know I have high cholesterol? You haven't even tested it. I probably do, but how high is it is the question. So I'm going to ask my doctor this Friday. I'm not going to eat anything because you have to fast for a cholesterol test. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And anyway, guys, so basically I'm going to put some links in there, and you guys, watch them. Let me know what you think. And please don't just say this is what I believe. Have some proof. Have some, documentation of something saying this is why you believe this way. Don't just say it just because we've all been told. I know what we've been told. We've been told we're supposed to eat all these grains and all this stuff that, they say to in the hospital they're giving me margarine and oatmeal. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, this isn't the stuff humans used to eat. Humans have only been farming for about 100,000 years, and scientists have seen that their skeletal remains, are showing that they had a lot of disease and tooth decay, and they were shorter and fatter, as opposed to before that, they were healthier. And then the question is always like, well, people used to die at age, 50. And what they bring up in the documentary is that people died because they did back-breaking labor. And in zoos versus wild animals in zoos tend to live longer because they have an easier life. And in this day and age, we all can live inside a nice place with air conditioning or heat. we don't have to worry about the elements ripping us up. And we do have the medicine that, can cure all the little stupid diseases that we get, like, that's like, even like the childhood ones like chicken pox and measles. We can control all that. I mean, hell, they gave me a pneumonia shot in the hospital, and I got a flu shot last week. I mean, come on. I mean, they didn't have that back then. So people were dying a lot younger. They'd buy from something else. But you know what? They weren't dying from heart attacks and strokes. They weren't dying from that. And if you think I'm full of crap, go do the research. It's interesting. When they start talking about it, they didn't start doing that till the fast food craze raised back in the 60s. That's when it started happening after World War II, 50s, 60s. It started happening. And what they were doing is everybody started eating vegetable oil. They made the CSPI, that's this organization, they worked with the government. They tried to get the government, and protested and everything. Got it so the fast food places had to stop using lard and beef tallow, which were natural foods, unprocessed foods, and then they had to use vegetable oil, which are processed. Go wring a carrot and see how much oil you get out of it. It just doesn't happen. So things like olive oil, coconut oil, and lard and beef tallow, butter, these are the things that are naturally made, and I believe they're good for us because they're natural. And yeah, we've been told that that's not good for you. And it's like, and it's like everyone always says we can't eat that, just that. And it's like, actually you can. The Eskimos eat nothing but walrus meat, 85% fat. These guys who studied them in 1929, 1930, I don't have their names, but it's in the book. I forget the name of the book, but I'll post it later when I see it. It's about from the two Dr. Eads that are in the documentary with the fathead, the husband, wife. And these guys in 1929, and they went in 1929, then in 1930, they spent a year in a New York hospital and ate nothing but 2,500 calories a day of meat and nothing else. And it's like, well, where's your blood sugar? There's a chemical in your body called glucagon that converts fat and protein into blood sugar, and it only does what you need. It's really interesting. It all has to do with like insulin and your body, fighting off sugar, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Anyway, I'll shut up now because this is getting long. But anyway, guys, I'm doing really well. I feel really good. Thanks to all those on the Facebook, that said all the nice things to me. I really appreciate it. And anyway, the sale's going to run another week because I want to, see if I can make some more money. I'm still kind of poor. And I know you guys love these sales because you guys can get a good deal on the repros. Anyway, I'm feeling amazing, and that's all I really have. You guys know how to get a hold of me. Anyway, thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.